Does Greek tragedy have a religious function? Well, in many ways it does. The question is how. So perhaps moving outside in, starting with context and then talking about the texts. So the context is the festival of Dionysus, a religious festival, at which various offerings were made for the gods and for Dionysus in particular, one of which is a big sacrifice. In that context, the play is one of the things offered to Dionysus. Dionysus liked beautiful things, and here he got a beautiful thing. And indeed, his priest, representing him, if you like, sat in the front row, sort of receiving, enjoying that beautiful thing. So that's one answer, a reasonably straightforward answer, I think, to the question of how does Greek tragedy relate to religion. There's a more complicated way into the question, which is to go into the origins of Greek tragedy. People have speculated at great length what there was once before we had the plays in the form we have now. In the end, we will never find the answer to that. So Aristotle tells us that Greek tragedy developed out of dithyrambs, with the leader of the dithyrambs sort of being pulled out of the chorus, the dithyramb being a choral song for Dionysus, perhaps. So there may well be a more strongly Celtic background to all this, but we can't really grasp it anymore in the 5th century developed form. So there's the issue of the 5th century context. There's the issue of the origins of tragedy. Now, as for the plays themselves, well, the plays use religious elements throughout. Probably the most obvious and most consistent one is the chorus. The chorus outside Greek tragedy occurs as a form much more often than not in somehow religious context. So the Greeks were very used to performing choruses, they were used to listening to choruses, and choruses sang at festivals of gods. So that itself will bring a certain religious component to it. And again, these choruses in a way dance for Dionysus, even if in the play Dionysus may not play a large role. And in fact, in most plays Dionysus does not play a large role. He doesn't in Oedipus Rex, for instance. Other religious elements include prayers, sacrifices, and, well, all sorts of other forms. And the important thing here is that when Greek tragedy uses prayers, or indeed when it uses sacrifices, or any other elements, these have strong religious resonances, but they're never straightforward religion copied, as it were, into the play. So many sacrifices are somehow wrong. Most famously in Aeschylus' Oresteia, we have a theme running all the way through the trilogy of sacrifice, but all the sacrifices are somehow wrong. The most obvious one is Agamemnon sacrifices his daughter. Well, sacrificing one's daughter is not a good sacrifice. So the plays use religious motifs all the time, but they manipulate them. Sometimes they're happy, more often they're somehow not happy. All of which I suppose means that the two extremes are wrong. One extreme would be watching a tragedy is the same as participating in a ritual. It clearly isn't. There is a lot of distancing, a lot of manipulating of the ritual involved. Or the other extreme of watching a tragedy is like reading about rituals in a newspaper or something. No, that isn't true either, because of the chorus more than anything else, but other elements as well, there is a resonance, there's a religious resonance at play. What there is how much the religious elements are manipulated at any one point and are distorted and become problematic versus more straightforwardly invoked. But we always sit somewhere between the two extremes, the extremes of this is ritual and this is not ritual.